everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Keep the Mic On. I am Simply Sherry. I am one of the hosts in this collective of poets who like to talk to other poets and other artists about kinds of all artist stuff. I'm just going to say it like that. Um, Tonight is a very, 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 very special event. If this is your first time ever joining us here on Keep the Mic On, this event is what we call our quarterly roundtable. So all four of us will be interviewing the same artist. So you're wondering what we talk about on our different platforms, on our different nights. You want to hear our different interview styles. Tonight is the night to watch. So my night is called From Behind the Microphone, where we take the time to get to know the person behind the poem, because poets are people too. Yeah, we're talking to a poet, so I can use my line. Right now, I'm going to pass the ball to the one, the only girl genius.
Hey everyone, I am Girl Genius. My week is the first week of the month, which is let's talk about the ... Usually books, but other tangible products and things. And I am very, 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 I know I say this all the time, but I'm telling you, you have no idea. I'm super excited about the roundtable guests we have for this evening. I am ready to get this thing off and started. I am going to do the social media plug, which is to say, follow, you have our guest information at the top, and we'll get to that in a minute, but follow us everywhere except for home, stalkers. Just kidding. Follow us everywhere except for home. Keep the mic on, including www.keepthemicon.com. We're on all social media platforms. And that includes, usually Kaniki does this, and I'll say it anyway. That includes, if you want to support us, we're on Cash App and that sort of thing, so that we can keep these platforms running, because I'm telling you, like every week it's a master class, and this is going to be a master class on master classes. So yes. I'm excited about this.
That is the truth.
That is absolutely the truth. So I am going to, let me see, who do I, look, I got that side. I have choice A, choice B. Who do I want to toss the ball to? You know what? Because I never get to do it, I'm going to toss it to Miss Cayenne.
Awesome. Thank you. God. So I'm Cayenne. I'm a poet and I know it. I am the newest member of this wonderful tribe. Keep the mic on. And I'm so excited, of course, to be a part, but also for tonight's session. Oh my gosh, I'm just like, ooh, let's get into it. But my segment is called Passion Projects, the root of the why. Like, why? What is the deeper point, or the deeper things of why you do what you do? So I love to ask the why. That's how I got into psychology and all that good stuff. That was the kid that, like, can you shut up, stop asking so many questions? So that'll be my segment, and we'll be getting into that next month. And as already been stated, please like, follow, share, support, all that wonderful stuff. I am going to kick it to the hostess with the mostest down here, Miss, I keep saying Miss, sorry, Kaniki J.
You can say Miss Kaniki J. I'll take that.
Okay. I know you're real particular about your name. I don't want to misrepresent. You know what I'm saying?
No. You can definitely say Miss. They at work they call me Miss Kaniki. That's okay. My name at work. So it's good. So hello, beautiful people. This is the perfect opportunity for you to not be stingy and tell your mama, your friends, and them that we are on live right now, and they definitely don't want to miss this. I am Kaniki Jakarta. My week is called Poets and Platforms, where I interview poets who have platforms for the arts. Tonight is going to be amazing. I'm very excited to see this special somebody, because it's been a minute. I haven't seen this person in a minute. So again, we're definitely keeping on our topic of this person. If you're interested in being an artist and traveling and how that works, this is the perfect time for you to tune in. That's what I'm gonna say. Yeah. So I'm gonna kick it back to Simply Sherry, we're gonna kick it back to you.
Hey, everybody. We have the pleasure and the joy of having for tonight's special guest our friend, and truly our friend, and also one of our favorite poets and people, Stephanie James Just a Vessel. So for a moment, real quick, I'm going to read her bio and then I'm going to bring her in to do some work. And then we're going to start this interview. Y'all know how we do. Mm-hmm. Stephanie James, also known as Just a Vessel, is a poet, singer, TV host, and founder of Changing Tourism, a new travel series that highlights Black, Indigenous people of color around the world. Originally from Colorado Springs, Colorado, and a summa cum laude graduate and basketball player of Hampton University. She has released one book of poetry in 2012 and 2 poetry and song albums, one in 2014 and one in 2016. Stephanie is a world traveler and international artist. She has lived and traveled to over 30 countries and counting. You can connect with her on social media everywhere at Just a Vessel 22 and see her videos and her poetry on her website, Just a Vessel Poetry. Hey, honey, how you doing? You're mute.
Yep, sorry. Here we go.
There you go. Hey, how you doing?
Everybody.
Yay!
You need to get a shirt that says you're on mute because it's just the culture now.
Yeah. With all of us here, I want to tell this story about Stephanie, and because I love her, and you know what story I'm gonna tell. So a couple of years, wow, it's been a while. It's been like 5-6 years ago. I'm hanging out at Warm Wednesdays, talking to another poet, and my sentence to the other poet was, "Hey, what are you doing on this day?" Stephanie walks past us, looks at her, and says, "You might not want to answer that question. You might find yourself in Canada."
Oh, like Sherry's taking over the world. She's got a million things moving. You might want to be careful how you answer that. You might end up in Canada tomorrow.
And since then, and since that conversation, she has been all over the world. So everyone, we're going to exit our screen and we're going to let Just a Vessel show you what she does.
Thank you for the warm welcome. Hi, everybody. Super excited to be here with you guys tonight. In honor of Black History Month, we're going to do a poem entitled Legacy. So I'll just jump right into it. And thanks for everybody tuning in. I feel it. Oh, I feel it. I feel my dream shaking me. I can see it almost reaching. I know this is where I'm supposed to be. Do you believe that one day your name will make a change? That someone in some way will be better because you came? Do you know that when you leave, you're not fully gone? For when you live a life of purpose, your legacy lives on. Through the lives of the ones you've touched and the hearts of the ones you reached, your life will be a legacy if you choose for it to be. You see, we are the prodigies of our ancestors' strong working backs. The ones who had to bend sometimes but refused to crack. We are the told you so to what they said we can never do or be. We are the light at the end of the tunnel that they said we'd never see. We are the hope that they prayed for, the inherited strength passed down. We are the seat they refused to give up. We found our thrones and wear our crowns. Victory is our name and it's from our ancestors' graves who fought for us and taught us that history can be changed, that we can write our own narrative even when the story had a different ending. We can get to the end of hope, tie a rope, and hold to new beginnings. It is us who creates the legacy that we leave behind, but we'd be remiss if we forget to remember those who ignited the flame that burns inside. You see, we are the actualization of dreams deferred, the thoughts beyond words, a reason our ancestors smiled and answered prayer, the child who survived. We are alive, and it is up to us to make sure that their dreams keep on living, to breathe into our passions and commit to generational healing. We are ceilings broken, limitless skies, a glimpse of heaven on earth. We are life. Legacy is what you leave behind, but you build it one single day at a time. We are divine. Miracle workers, dream pushers, atmosphere shifters. We are purpose. The only thing standing between us and success at our best, we are enough. And if we never give up, we will be the twins to the ones who came before us, gorgeous minds, intelligent hearts. In a world full of broken pieces, we are the best parts. We are love, freedom ringing from the soul, Although sometimes divided, we are always whole. We are joy in the morning, a song stuck on repeat. We are laughter and fun, just what they thought we would be. And yes, there's always opportunity to improve. We have shown that there's strength in numbers when those numbers are willing to move. Do what you can and you will have always done enough. Give everything that you got and you will have never given too much. We say thank you to our ancestors for being your best, for doing what's right, never settling for what's left. We appreciate you for fighting before we came. And now we will continue to battle in honor of your name, and not to approach violence sedentary, but continue to stand firm for what's necessary. Not necessarily creating a front line, but also never afraid to stand firm for what's right. You see, he had a dream, and we are a dream come true. He had a dream for a better future, and we're experiencing what dreaming can do. He had a dream for his loved ones, and we are the ones that he loved. He had a dream for his children's children, and now their future depend on us. You see, do you believe that one day your name will make a change? That someone in some way will be better because you came? Do you know that when you leave, you're not fully gone? For when you live a life of purpose, your legacy lives on. Through the lives of the ones you've touched and the hearts of the ones you've reached, your life will be a legacy if you choose for it to be. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, I was looking for Danielle. Come back. Looking for Girl Genius. Here we go.
There she is. Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute, I think. Girl Genius. Oh, there you. Girl Genius, you're on mute.
Okay, I guess I should unmute myself. Maybe. I'm having all the issues. Like I swore I unmuted myself and I didn't. So first of all, hi. I haven't seen you in like 50 bajillion years. So it feels like.
I know. It's been a long time, but it's good to see you guys.
I think the last time I actually think that it might have been top of 2020.
Wow. Okay.
Somewhere in there.
Potentially Spirits and Lyrics, or I don't know where. Maybe it was at
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, so good to see you guys and be here today.
I know. So normally I do the interview about books. So
okay,
I want to ask you about the book, but I'm going to intrude on some questions and ask you about the TV show.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. We'll start with that.
Okay. Yeah.
So, first of all, tell people the name of the book and tell them the name of the TV show.
Yeah, so the book it's called Just a Vessel. It's 52 inspirational like weekly messages, and it really came from, it was a gift, to be honest. So I used to send a poem every Monday to over 1,000 people. And one of my good friends, TJ Jackson, he actually reached out to all my friends one year and asked all of them if they would donate to the making of my book. So he actually took a lot of the messages that I would send each week and collated them into the book. So the book is there. It's a gift, and it was, I got it in 2012. It was an amazing birthday gift, big surprise. And the show is titled Changing Tourism. And it's going to be highlighting the Black, Indigenous, people of color, or you could say BIPOC communities around the world.
All right. I'm going to do something a little weird.
Okay.
Sherry, I'm going to bump my segment to yours while I fix whatever the hell is going on with my Wi-Fi, because I want to be able to hear this interview because I'm excited about this. I'm going to swap with you right quick while I swap devices. Jump in with a couple of questions. Give me 30 seconds. I got it.
All right, no worries. I got it. I can go now. I can go from behind the microphone now because that's how technology works.
You can jump in now and I'll jump in.
I'll go ahead and do my segment now. It's funny. I was talking to a mechanical engineer the other day, and they said to me, if it's technology, it's not working. Like, it was like, however you put it, it cracked me up. All right,
fair.
so
I
everyone,
love that.
my section is called From Behind the Microphone, and we're going to take the time to get to know the person behind the poems, the person who writes such inspirational poems. So my first question is always, what brought you to writing poetry?
Oh my gosh. Oh, okay.
We start there.
Yeah, we start there. Okay. It was funny. Actually, it was on accident, to be honest. So I was working at a bank. I was an intern at Wells Fargo Bank, and we couldn't sit down. I was in Colorado Springs interning after like around my high school years. We couldn't sit down and we couldn't do anything. You couldn't be on your phone. You couldn't do much of anything. You had to, as a teller, I was a teller. I sold international currency, so that's telling. But I was an international currency teller, and we couldn't do anything. We just had to sit there and wait for customers to come in. But I actually worked at a slower branch, and so I started to write one day, and I told my sister, it was like a poem about basketball, which is actually my first love. And she was like, this is actually really good, you know? And then I got into like performing it and sharing it at church. And then I moved to Maryland or the DMV area. And lo and behold, there's an amazing art scene here that made me want to continue to hone my skills when it came to performance, poetry and spoken word. So, but that's how it started, in the bank, bored, and just started writing.
So one of my standard questions, and I asked this question because I get so many comments from people when I host. I don't know that I could ever get on stage and do what you just did. So the point to asking this question is to say, when I ask you about telling us the first time you performed a poem on stage, it's because we all didn't start where we are today.
Right. Exactly. The very first time was, like I said, with my sister and her friend, and then I did it at church. And the church, you know, the church people are so sweet. They're like, "Good job, baby. That's good. Come on, you got," you know, they're giving you all encouragement. So my first time on stage was actually nice, but to your point, you know, it doesn't feel good to forget. It doesn't feel good to stumble. Trying to get your feeding on what voice you want to have, because you hear a lot of different artists, and I think sometimes a mistake is trying to be like the artist that you're hearing instead of admiring who you see, but finding your own voice. But my first time on stage was the church. They were very kind to me, thankfully. But I will say, you know, coming to Baltimore and going on the open mic scene, I was told, you know, flat out, they're not going to clap for you unless you're good. And so, you know, these are the type of artists that are going to make you elevate or get off the stage, one or the other. And I actually really appreciated that, because I like a challenge.
That is Baltimore. That is Warm Wednesdays all day. That is warm. So my next question is regarding your stage name, Just a Vessel. Where did that come from?
Yeah, Just a Vessel. I don't know when it was coined, to be honest. I just remember being on stage, seeing different artists, and they have their cool pen name. And I'm like, man, I need to come up with my artist name. What is that going to be? And at the time I was like, you know, I'm just a vessel. It uses like no more, no less. So I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm just a vessel, and just keeping it at that space. And then Just a Vessel has stuck with me since 2013 at this point.
Okay. I liked it. I really like it. Because you also answered the second part of that question. What do you want the audience to get away from that? But I like that. It's just
right. Yeah, just a vessel. No more. I'm just a vessel he uses. Really, no more, no less. That's how I look at it.
This is just a question from me. How level of difficulty incorporating your faith into your writing? Yeah, especially in a area where a lot of us don't write faith-based poetry. I'll say it that way.
Yeah. That was tough in the beginning, because I've been to open mic nights where my faith is not the majority, and it's a little tense, to say the least. Also, I will say, in full transparency, I have transitioned from not only, because I used to only write, you know, kind of more religious or like Christian-based pieces, God-based pieces. And traveling has really expanded my mind and my horizons. I met some of the most beautiful people in the world are Hindu, are Buddhist, are, you know, not like me. And so it's really traveling gave me a wider perspective and has allowed me to write about more things other than God and faith. And that's all great, right? But it's opened my catalog more in my travels. So
how has it been during that time that you were traveling, performing in all the different countries? If you follow her on social media, you will see that she truly has been around the world and has performed everywhere she's been.
Yeah, that was my goal, right? 38 countries, perform in each and every one of them. It's fun, to be honest. It's really fun. There's nothing like somebody purchasing your CD who doesn't speak English because they like your delivery, right? And it's funny because we like Latin songs. We can jam to some, Despacito and all that. We may not know everything that they're saying, but we like the vibe. And I really feel like there's no feeling like somebody buying your CD who doesn't speak your language. That is the most amazing, humbling experience that you will have. And then it was fun, traveling and performing because it became just a challenge of which stage will I get on where? I mean, in Croatia, I was like in a piazza in Old Town Split. Hey, T, I just saw T. Thank you. So yeah, it was fun to see like the different locations that I would get to perform in around the world. Yeah.
So because I want to make sure that the answer to this question gets out for the people that want to know.
Yeah.
When you left DC the first time.
Yes.
When you originally left.
Yes.
You left and went out there with a specific program.
Yep.
Can you talk about that program?
Yeah.
And what it was?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I was working for a Fortune 50 company at the time for 8 consecutive years. I decided to quit in top of 2017. So really like the end of 2016, I quit. And it was because I got an opportunity in 2008 to go to the Summer Olympics in Beijing. And that China was like, oh my gosh, like nothing I've ever seen, a completely different world. And it made me want to see more. So I came back, started working for the Fortune 50 company. I went to Italy, I went to Greece, and then I just started to get this like insatiable desire to see more, to travel more and explore. So with that, I started looking online. I found a group. Unfortunately, the group is dissolved. They don't actually go anymore. There's other groups though, if people are interested in hearing more, but it was called Pangea 196. But they did dissolve after the second year. But this group will allow you to go to 12 countries in 12 months. And I actually visited 18 countries in 2017 because, like Europe is pretty close, where if you're in Hungary, you can bounce over to Vienna for a couple of days and bounce here in Liechtenstein and, some of these countries that you're like, what? That's a country? It was an amazing experience. I learned during that stint how to book things for myself, how to book travel for myself, the Airbnbs, what to look for. And then I did all of the show finding and building myself, as well as pushing my album out, hosting shows. I hosted a show in Prague. I hosted a show, a Spirits and Lyrics in Prague, a Spirits and Lyrics in Vietnam. But that was the premise of the group. So after I did that for a full year, 2018, I moved to London. I stayed in London for like a year and a half. And then 2019, I was back, Portugal, Spain, Morocco, Colombia, Mexico, Amsterdam, bouncing around a little bit. But it's fun. It's addictive. And COVID is not my friend because I don't think it's anybody's friend, actually, but having to sit still. So
it's really not. And what I have found, like, I haven't been out of the country that often. I lived out of the country for a year, for about a year.
Where did you live?
I lived in Germany for a year. My ex-husband was in the army, and we got stationed in Germany the last year we were together. So I lived in Germany for a year.
Yeah, Germany's great.
Oh yeah, Germany was beautiful. I got to visit the Czech Republic. Gorgeous, beautiful country. But I found myself like really addicted to YouTube, to other people's travel videos. Like I'm just sitting there. Like I can't go nowhere right now, but I'm gonna watch all y'all's videos because y'all are where I feel like being.
Living vicariously through everybody else for sure.
Right. So I'm gonna get back to my regular interview questions.
Okay.
Who is your favorite writer? Anybody you consider a writer. Could be a poet, author.
Oh man.
Songwriter, anybody.
I mean, it's very cliche, but you have to give Maya Angelou her due credit. But I also really like, as just reading, I like Marianne Williamson. She has a book called A Return to Love, and it speaks to my soul. Like, it is a really, really good book. If anybody's looking for a book to read, A Return to Love. She's one of my favorite writers, I would say, for sure.
Okay. You can have your perfect concert venue because I know where you are, Meriwether Post Pavilion.
Yeah.
3 acts, living or dead. Who would you want to see perform on the stage?
Oh my gosh. And this could be anybody, not just poets.
Anybody. Musicians, anybody. Who would you want to see at the perfect concert venue?
Definitely Maya, for sure. Whitney Houston, absolutely. In her prime. Right. In her prime. And Michael Jackson in his prime. Those are definitely my top 3. Because those are 2 artists that I always say that I wish I could have seen.
I agree. I think Whitney at her prime would have been the show.
She's amazing. I mean, come on. That is one of the songs, funny enough. I used to be in a wedding band. When I was living here, I was in a wedding band for 3 years. So I've serenaded over 80 weddings. And that was I Want to Dance with Somebody was my song. And I sang that, funny enough, in Thailand. I sang that all over the world because they know Whitney Houston all over the world. So yeah, I would love to see her.
Oh, that's dope. That's a dope thought. I see that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm coming down to my last 3 questions. Actually, might be the last 2.
Okay.
I miscounted. Do you have another creative outlet besides writing poetry? And if not, is there something else you want to learn?
Absolutely. I do. Let me think. Let me see which ones I want. I like a lot of different things. But my creative outlet, I like to edit. So as I was traveling in 2017, I created like a travel vlog. You guys see the website up there. That's where you can see some of my vlogs. They were more like video and music behind them instead of speaking. But for me, I was filming everything. I had 225 videos each month to edit down to about 14 minutes. So I had fun with that. I actually really enjoyed that. I would say you have to be creative and you have to really be dedicated to take 220 videos every month and make it gold. So I like videos. I probably have over 40,000 pictures and videos in my archives. Yeah, I love that.
So definitely visit the website to definitely see the world through Just a Vessel's eyes. Yeah. My last question before I kick it back to Girl Genius is this. And this question is stolen directly from inside the actor's studio.
Uh-oh.
If heaven exists, what would you want to hear God say when you reach the pearly gates?
I mean, you got to do the old adage that we hear in the Bible that we hope he will say to all of us is, well done, thy good and faithful servant, right? Like, I want to make sure that I am used fully. I am empty. By the time I get to that casket, I am emptied of all of my purpose and passions, and everything that God's purpose for my life has come to pass. So I hope he would say, well done, Steph. Good job. Well done.
All right, everyone. I'm going to bring back the Girl Genius to restart her interview.
Okay.
All right. Unmute yourself.
This is an all-night continuous issue, apparently. I got so excited I hit one button and not the other. I think I fixed the thing. Praise the Lord. Not even being facetious. I was like, I think I fixed the thing. Yes.
Got it. Yes.
Hi again.
Hello.
And now I have a new story to start you with. I believe I have video somewhere of you singing Whitney Houston's song.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. I love that song. I literally have sang it everywhere. So when she asked me,
I want to say I have video somewhere because you and I have done karaoke at least once.
Yes. I
don't know if that video sounds as good as I would hope that it did, but I'm sure I believe that you have it.
I believe that it does, because this is coming from someone who sounds like cats being drowned and strangled when they sing. I don't bother. I'm good. I just do it because it's fun. You do this and it's like, okay, I quit. I tap out. I'm good.
This is also from the poet who can say a whole poem backwards. And I'm like, I quit. I tap out.
Listen,
that is you.
I'm honored. I'm honored. I really am. Like that's it. Like I don't have that. I don't have that gift. I'm grateful for people who do.
Yeah.
So I know I will start the interview. I know I asked you about the book and the thing. Now, normally during these interviews, I ask about books and process, and I'm going to ask you those same questions, but I'm going to kind of hone in on the show a little bit too, because I think it's a really, really dope concept. And knowing what I know, I want everybody else to kind of have some buy-in on this.
Okay.
So first, I mean, what I usually ask, what inspired you to do the book, but I'm going to ask you, what inspired the show?
Yeah, that's a fantastic.
Why that?
Yeah. So I think representation matters, right? If we're learning anything from Encanto right now, representation matters. And seeing there's the first Black woman to have a show on the Travel Channel is just happening this year. It's cool that it's happening, but it's also 2022. And it's just sad at the same time that she is the first Black woman to have a travel show on the Travel Channel. So for me, like what I've seen in representation, we're not there in that space. We're there on Instagram, we're there on social media, traveling and showing where we're going, but not like on a network television show, telling our stories, right? Because a lot of other people are telling our stories, but we're not telling our own stories. And so that was really what inspired it, was to tell our stories and tell stories that would otherwise go untold in the world. Right. If you watch like Anthony Bourdain, Parts Unknown, it's fantastic. But he went to the whole country of Colombia and you see no Black or brown person. And it's such a big part of their culture, their food, their faith. Like it's such a big part of it. So it's like, how can you tell their story and not tell this story? But I also understand that he was one point of view. So I want to give another, point of view, a different vantage point. So that's kind of where it started. And then just traveling and wanting to share more about what I'm seeing, who I'm meeting, the story, the incredible humans that are in the world, that, inspired the show as well.
Now, I have something to ask, but I'll circle back around to it first. Yeah. I know you've hit about 40 countries at this point, and Sherry was talking about you've had this opportunity. You were talking to Sherry about you've had this opportunity to sort of perform and write, and I know you shot some music videos too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, does location have an influence over your process? I know you said, earlier in the interview, like you've changed from, say, with your writing, you went from doing strictly faith-based stuff to to opening up a little bit because you've got exposure to other people. So has it changed your process any, or have you been influenced at all in your process by where you are at that particular moment?
Oh yeah, absolutely. 100%, because you're there and you're immersed. If you do it the right way, you're immersing yourself in those cultures, right? Hungary is living in Budapest for a month and doing different things out there and realizing that their history is sad. It's really sad, and I wanted to tell that story. So like to your point, I did 3 international videos. My goal was to do one on each continent in the year 2017. So in the first 4 months we were in South America. So I did a video in Buenos Aires, in Caminito, which is like a really colorful town. It's a cool story behind it because they actually can't afford to buy paint. They couldn't in the day afford to buy paint. So they just used whatever paint was left. So the whole city is like all different colors. The brick that you walk on, everything's different colors. So that's where I shot the first video, Shaken, for my poem Shaken. And then in Budapest, which we were talking about earlier, in Hungary, it's sad. It's a little bit sadder, like their history and what happened. So I shot What Kind of God in Budapest and captured like the bullet holes in the sides of the buildings and where they were pushed off of the edge, and their shoes are in metal, memorializing them along the walkway, right? And then in Vietnam, I met a gentleman from France who lives there, and he shot my Hidden Heart video in Ho Chi Minh. And it was cool because he had the drone so we could get some aerial views. It's a big city. So yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The location I'm in influences what I'm writing and how I show up and how I can show up. Right.
Yeah. I was about to say, what has been, as far as, again, process and performance and writing and things, what has been your biggest challenge? And I would think with not staying in one place, for too long.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has writer's block. Sometimes, well, maybe some people don't. I do, right? I'll say I have writer's block sometimes. For me, I did a lot of writing in transit. So instead of, to your point, I'm bouncing. I'm trying to see as much as I can everywhere that I was. It didn't give me as much opportunity to write in those moments, but I would just kind of take notes and then write later in transit when I'm on that bus ride, that flight, that ferry to the next location. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't even imagine what this planning process looks like.
Yeah, it's a lot. Some of it's planned out really well, and some of it is just like, oh, you want to go to Costa Rica tomorrow? Okay, sure. Like some of it's really fun, some of it's not. Yeah. Both are fun. Both are fun.
Yeah, I know COVID has screwed everybody up.
Yeah.
And I'll ask the question. I'll start with this.
Yeah. I
have enjoyed more so than I did before. Like I definitely was a fan before of the post you have up, because I after everything went down, sort of limited my travel to, sort of staying in border for right now until sort of things calm down a little bit. Mm-hmm. So how has this whole thing changed, I guess, your process and your planning? I mean, aside from the obvious stuff.
Yeah, it's really slowed me down. But not in a bad way, right? Like it's given me more time for preparation. And all of us, we've been in our open mic 6 nights a week. We've done that, right? In the past, we're bouncing everywhere, different cities. We're in Virginia, Baltimore, DC, we're everywhere to get to everything. And like I said, I was 38 countries in my life, but 25 probably or more were within from 2017 to 2020, right? So it was a huge, like, screeching halt for me to sit down, but then it led me to changing tourism, because when the world opens up, I want to tell those stories that I didn't get to tell during the time that I was in my travels. And I did share some stories, but I wanted to be on a wider scale. But to your point, I mean, I'm actually okay with it, though. It was good to sit still. It was good to have more time for preparation and really be intentional about how you want to move when it's time to move again.
That's actually literally why I asked the question, because I was like, it's been an interesting point to, like I said, I've limited my travel, but I've had more time to plan the trips I actually want to take.
Yep.
And then with a purpose.
Appreciate it. You appreciate it more, right? Because, like, if you would have told me 2 years ago, or I guess maybe 3 years ago now, 2.5 years ago, that I couldn't go anywhere in the world when I wanted to go there, I wouldn't have believed you. Or that the entire world would be put on pause. I wouldn't have believed it, right? And so it's just a humbling space to be in for the things that we took for granted, that we didn't even know we were taking for granted. Like, you think you're grateful until that thing is removed, and then you're like,
until you don't have it, and you're like, what the hell? Right.
Exactly.
I've also found that with the travel thing specifically, like, I'm looking at places I might not have had on my radar. Mm-hmm. Had this not happened. Like, this would have been the last place I thought I would have found myself.
That's
and
lovely.
Then it ends up being amazing at the back end.
I love that you said that, because I feel like So in 2017, when we went on the trip, right, when we started, we had our entire itinerary. So it's Ecuador, Chile, Uruguay, Argentina, Italy, Prague, Budapest, Bulgaria. So of course you're looking more forward to Italy versus Bulgaria, or like Bali versus Vietnam, right? You're like, yeah, I've not heard much about it, right? But what I love about what you said is that the more you travel, the more you're open to going places that you wouldn't have otherwise gone. Because you're like, man, Prague is great, or things that aren't as normal. Croatia is fantastic, right? And not a lot of people are big planning trips to go to Croatia, or even Bulgaria. Like, we lived in a town called Varna, and it's a beach town. I ran to the beach every day and like hung out at the beach, drank slushies, and like worked out. Like, who would think about Bulgaria in that space, right? Unless you've been there, or unless you're even open to researching that location. So it's good, but it's bad because it makes me now want to go everywhere. I don't know if you've heard the quote, like, I haven't been everywhere, but it's on my list. That's really how I feel. Yeah.
That's me. That's me.
Yeah.
I'm picking your brain mostly about the show, because this is aside from what I normally do. Like, if you ask anybody who knows me, like, I'm down for the trip all the time. Like, I love travel. I love, just I like the experience.
Yep.
It's not even about the where, it's the experience. I love the experience. Yeah. So that's why I said it's kind of weird now. I'm looking at places that weren't necessarily on my radar. Yay!
I love that. And I think too, what people have to understand as well in that is that it is good. It is good to change your environment. But you also have to realize that wherever you go, there you are. And what I mean by that is, like, you can't run from your current situation just because you're going on a trip here or there. So it's really important in this time to make sure you're centered, because if you're a mess in your mind in Maryland, you're going to be a mess in your mind in Bali or in Thailand or wherever you go. Changing environment does help you, but it's not going to completely wipe out, right? Like, how you're feeling. And there you go, wherever you go, there you are. So you're taking yourself with you wherever you go. So just be mindful of that, to the viewers. It's really important to sit still and like be centered in yourself.
Absolutely. I'm going to ask you 2 more questions before I hand it off, and the second one's really short. The first one is, what are you currently working on aside from the show? Are you currently working on any other projects?
No, the show is taking up my life right now, because I'm doing pitches. I am putting all of my human power into changing tourism. So honestly, no. I do work for a tech company on the side. So that's my job, right? That is my source of income, but it's remote. I can do it from wherever. Very good, strong work-life balance, which is fantastic. And I'm grateful for that. But aside from that, and changing tourism is it right now. And then just focus on myself, right? I do yoga, meditate. I work out 6 days a week. I'm reading a lot. So working on myself for sure, always. And then changing tourism.
I would ask, what are you currently reading? Hold on. What are you currently reading?
I'm currently reading Will Smith's biography. So
gotcha. I keep a book list. I ask people for recommendations. If that's on the list, I'm throwing that on the list. I have it on my list to read, and I haven't gotten there yet. I have like 3 other books ahead of that one.
Yeah, that book was good. The book I read before that is called The Strangest Secret, and that's really good. It's short. It's like 50 pages, but it's really impactful. That's Earl Nightingale. And then one of the ones I read prior to that, one of the ones I just bought, but I've also seen like some podcasts and stuff, is Atomic Habits. And that one is really good too. That's by James Clear. And he's basically talking about how if you change 1% of what you do every day, you'll be better in the long term. And how you can do that by little things. Like if you want to drink more water, having more water bottles in sight. If you making your good habits easier to achieve and your bad habits harder to achieve.
So it's really writing these things down. I am writing these things down because I'm going to put this on the list. At some point, I have it. I just have to post it. But I have a list of like everything that's been recommended by other guests we had on the show. I love our guest book recommendations. Somebody's asking for the author for that book again. I'll do the research and pull it up 2 seconds.
Yeah, his name's James Clear. It's really good. It's really like insightful to make you think about like how you're operating your day. Even if you just look him up on YouTube, he has a lot of like TED Talks and stuff, but it's really good. James Clear. Yeah, CLEAR. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gotcha. And I was going to say, and the last question, and this is the short question is, okay. When are we officially launching? Are we launching all things for changing tourism?
It's to be determined, to be honest. I have the pitch and I have some pretty exciting meetings coming up, but I guess it just depends on who is going to bite first. So I don't have the launch date just yet, but when I have it, believe I will post it everywhere for everyone to know.
Good, because I want people to sort of keep their eye out. And I was like, I didn't know what you had in the hopper. If you had a set date, I'm like, go back here this day. Yeah. But I definitely encourage, and everybody can see your info top and bottom. I definitely encourage everyone to follow you. I am going to pass it off to the next host. I'm going to sit back and listen to the rest of this interview. Thank you.
Thanks, girl genius.
I am going to hand it off to our newest host. I'm going to hand this off to, let me see if I can't find Miss Cayenne so I can bring her in.
Okay. Hey, there we go. Hey. Oh my goodness, it's so wonderful to see you. And you probably it's been far longer than I've seen you.
Though. I remember me.
Okay, because it's been years.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Yeah,
but this is just a testament to you. I had to say this. I'm glad that my time is here because you have been so impactful to me personally. And I'm an old head, you know what I'm saying? But old head meaning older. Yes. But not
wiser. Yes, wiser.
Yeah, wiser. Yeah, something like that. And you have always been so inspirational. But even upon meeting you initially so many years ago, I was always impacted. So, and then you went off and left, and I was like, I'm following. I'm here. And just so blessed, so convicted at times because there was no limitation, and that was something that I was always dealing with. So I just wanted to say it's so good to see you again, but also to know sometimes you don't know the impact that you're having, and just know whether you always have the conversation. You have definitely been a wonderful impact for me, a wonderful testament of going and being and doing all that God has made you to do. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That means a lot to me, sincerely. Like people that are coming on the journey with me, like I can't do any of the things that I'm doing without people actually coming on the journey with me, right?
That's a good point. Yeah.
My mantra is like, if I inspire you, you are my inspiration. That is literally has been my mantra forever because it's true, right? I can't do anything without people coming along the journey and like believing in that journey with me. So thank you so much for saying that. I appreciate that.
Oh, of course. And that's a perfect segue because that's actually one of my questions and you kind of elaborated already. And as I said earlier, I'm the newest host, so this is a good place to get my feet wet because I think my first show will be next month.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you. So my area is what I'm calling passion projects. I'm kind of delving in a lot of things you've already talked about, and I read that your mantra, the statement, and I thought that's a powerful statement. If I inspire you, you are my inspiration, and I think it speaks volumes about your connection to, it's not just you, not just your gift, but your connection to the people that receive that. Can you talk a little bit more about that connection and why does your audience become your inspiration?
Yeah, honestly, because I mean, as an artist, right, I do have a full-time job, but like, as you're talking about your passion project, right? So it's one thing when you go to work and you get paid for the work that you're doing, because that's how it's supposed to work. But when people are supporting your passion, your dream, your vision, the intangibles, or the tangibles, right? Buying a CD, obviously everybody's streaming everything now. So I just have a bunch of CDs in the closet. But you can't do anything without that support and those people backing you up and really pushing you along, right? Even if it's just one person, sometimes one person is enough for me. For one person to say, hey, that poem really changed my life, or it really changed my day even. That's great. Thank you so much. Right. Because you never know. And people have done that for me as well. Right. And so, but we all need each other, and to exist in a space where you can do your passion and it can fuel you, be it moving your feet, be it, fuel your pockets, however you want to look at it. Anything that where people are supporting your passion and they don't have to, and they decide to anyway, is a blessing. Right. So I really appreciate that.
Awesome. Yeah, I can imagine. I remember one of the lessons that I learned in college from my mentor. We would do events, on campus, and, you do all this planning and hoping people will fill the room.
Yeah.
And I remember learning, if it's 1 or 1,000, they get 100% every time.
Right.
And so I've taken that mantra, that concept with me. I try to, and I think it kind of speaks to what you're saying. Even if it's one person that says, hey, that really helped me, and I thank you, then purpose is being fulfilled. And that's awesome. That's awesome.
Absolutely. And that one person could be, I've had people come up for one of my poems that were for bereavement, and come up and say, hey, I lost my daughter last week, and that spoke to me, that ministered to, you just never know. And you hear people all the time in open mics, like, poetry saves my life every other Wednesday or whatever, right? It's really intense when somebody is like supporting that passion for you and making you feel safe in a space in a world where otherwise you can't, right?
Yeah.
So
it's a beautiful thing. So here's a question for you. And it's 2-part. The famous question that a lot of us get in some fashion or form when we're little kids.
Okay.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
And I want you to think back to whatever your first thought of the answer to that. I'm sure if you were like me, you had various iterations of that, but what are your first thoughts around that? What was it, and how does it align with what you're actually doing?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I was younger, my response to that would have been to be in the WNBA. Actually, when I was really young, before the WNBA, I'm dating myself, I wanted to be the first woman basketball player in the NBA, because there was no WNBA.
Wow.
So that my first answer to that question would have been to be the first woman in the NBA. Then they made the WNBA, and I was like, oh, it's a no-brainer. Here we come, right? So that was my first, what do I want to be when I grow up, was a basketball player. Went to college. I played basketball for years at D1, Hampton University. But my feet started giving way. Like, I can't pound them. Like, I couldn't make a career of it because they just weren't there. Like, I'm flat-footed, and they said it couldn't be something I could make a career of, unfortunately. So that was heartbreaking at the time. And then I kind of pivoted to poetry, and then I pivoted to travel. And if you ask me in the middle of my life, maybe 5 years ago or something, I want to be a famous poet, right?
Yeah.
And I would say too that I think sometimes we don't credit ourselves enough because it's not on the scale that we want it to be on. And I have taught myself not to do that. I'm an international poet. Have I performed for 50,000 people in Croatia? No, I haven't, but I've performed in Croatia. Right. Yeah. And everywhere. I've performed in 38 countries. So you're an international poet at that point. You've sold albums, sold products, you're known for your art around the world. But I think it's important that we don't downsize what we've already accomplished.
Exactly.
What we've already achieved. Right. And you can definitely dream for more, but just be grateful for like how far you've already come. So that would be at that point in my life. And then now, obviously, I want changing tourism to take over and be an amazing TV travel host and inspire people to see more of the world and tell stories that would otherwise remain untold around the world from people that look like us.
Yeah, that's awesome. I got my mind is traveling in my head a little bit about a couple of questions, but here's a theory that I always have. I've done little accountability groups around just kind of that help people have a safe space, and accountability group to encourage them to do their passions and their dreams, right? Yeah. And here's a question that I always ask, which is this is the one I asked you, but also you've pivoted a few times, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Do you see or can you make a thread between these pivots, or breadcrumbs that you could see, even as a kid while it was basketball. But you are, like you said, an international poet. You speak and you inspire, you give life. I think you talked about being an advocate as well. So there's a lot of, there's the title, but then what is really being done, there's a lot of things there. Can you see, or do you see the breadcrumbs in your life that kind of lead to say that says, hey, while I was doing this, I saw clues that this was always in my life. This thing was always in my life.
Not necessarily like a physical thing per se, but I would say that what's always been in my life is adventure, and it's and always going after what I want. But you have to take a calculated risk, right? Because some people don't see your full story. They just see my Instagram and they're like, oh, it's great. She's traveling. She's doing this, this, and this, right? But I worked for a Fortune 50 company for 8 consecutive years and saved and planned. And I didn't actually know I was going to make that jump, but it did allow me to make a calculated jump when I took the leap, right? It is not to say don't jump. It's to say make sure that the water is deep enough. Make sure you can swim when you get down there. Make sure, just checking for certain things. Definitely take the jump. Absolutely. And I think that is the crumb for your question. That would be the breadcrumb, and the commonality in everything is like, okay, you want to be a basketball player? I was the first in practice, the last out of practice. I was the best on the team. I was state. I was 4.1. I was okay because I didn't want anything. I didn't want this player is better than me or just as good as me, and I have a 4.1 and they have a 3.5. They're going to choose me. I wanted every limitation to be removed from me succeeding in what I wanted. And that's the commonality for me. Like, this is what I want. How do I get there? And then working that backwards, right? And that's been, whether it's a basketball player, a poet, a travel TV host, whatever it is, you have to be relentless with your passion, with your dream.
Awesome. Wow, I like that. The adventure and the relentless spirit. Consistent.
And have fun. Everything's fun. I have so much fun playing basketball. I have fun with poetry, the let outs, talking to everybody, getting to know people, networking. It's fun traveling. Like, most of the time when you're having the most fun, it's like in some way tied to your passion and your calling. When you're having the most amount of fun.
Another great segue. So the word passion. So we normally think of that word, and it speaks to a couple of things, right? Intense emotion or enthusiasm, a love, a desire. It can be, of course, we think about it. Some people think sexually or relationally, but also excitement and adventure and just intense, right? But there's another component to the word passion, and I'm sure you are familiar, is the crucifixion of Christ was also known as the passion of Christ, which speaks to suffering, and specifically the death of the passionate death of Christ. And so here in this, when you're right, we look at your videos. I've been watching and listening and like, oh my God, that's beautiful. I'm just like, I am a big vicarious learner and experiencer, but now I'm like, I gotta get out of here and see what she's saying. So, and from my angle or anyone else, we you're right, we can see the joy and the passion and the love, and we're all motivated. Like, I want to try Croatia. That would have never been on my list.
It's amazing.
So now it's on my list. You know what I'm saying?
Please. Yes. Go.
I'm excited about that. Yes. And we see all this intense emotion positively. When one takes a leap and says, this, I am fully committed, and like you said, very tenacious about doing what I do, and sometimes that may be going against the grain of what everyone else is doing. Do you experience, is there a suffering component of you working on your passion? Is there a suffering component of that?
I wouldn't say suffering, but definitely
or something as an angst or like a challenge or a pull and a push.
Definitely a pull and a push, right? When I left the Fortune 50 company, the division of I was on the fast track, so I was getting promoted every other year, and they had to, right? I was like on the fast track. She's going to be on the national platform. So you have to promote that person every year and a half. They have to move forward.
Okay.
So I've been promoted 4 times in 8 years. And the divisional vice president said, you are messing up your career. You are completely messing up your career. Your peers are going to pass you up. You're making the biggest mistake of your life. My mom was like, I don't know. I mean, you're at a good company. You got a benefit, and so there is that push and pull of, this is what I know I want to do, but it's still scary sometimes, right? Yeah. To take that jump because you don't know what's behind that other door. But the one thing I would say within this that I learned is that if you don't, the same way you made the decision to jump, you can always jump back, right? It's like when we make a decision, we feel like it's so final. Oh my gosh, like I'm moving to London. Oh my God, I'm going to be in London for the rest of my life. And it's like, actually, you can move to London. If you don't like it, you can leave. And I get that it's going to take work. So you have to be willing to work. Yeah, you have to sell your stuff, sell your car, rent out your place, right? But you can always say that you took that chance. And most of the time in our lives, if it happens well or if it doesn't happen well, we still are happy that it happened because there's a lesson in that. And so I just think that that's important for the audience to know, right? Like, make the decision, take the leap. You can always leap back. Wow. And it doesn't feel like it at the time. Maybe it's not the same Fortune 50 company, but there's quite a few of them. Right. You're still very talented in what you do. Your resume still holds the same, strength. So I think it's just, we sometimes box ourselves into these limitations, and take the limitations off. Take those limitations off.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good stuff right there. That's good stuff. Girl, you talking to me right now. I'm making some shifts in my life, and it's funny. I'm always battling like, oh my gosh, is this the right thing? And what if but you're right. You can always pivot, but we have more autonomy than we often give ourselves. Life is not happening to us, so to speak. We can move about the cabin more than we give ourselves credit. So thank you for that. I'm sure the audience can pull that and take that with them. Yes. I do have a personal question. So you've been to at least 40 some plus countries or whatever.
Like 38 countries. 38.
We're gonna round up 40.
I'm trying to hit that 40, but COVID doesn't like me. So
yeah, COVID has been, it has been a blessing and a curse in so many different ways. So
yeah.
But are any of the countries that you have visited and found yourself in, do any of them feel more like home than others?
Oh yeah. I would say there's not one country that I've been to. Actually, okay, I didn't like Liechtenstein. They were very nice. Okay. But other than Liechtenstein, there's not been a country that I've been to that I didn't like, because you can appreciate something about everywhere, right? And it's tough because people always ask me when I say how many countries I've been to or what I like to do. The next question always is, what's your favorite country? But it's really hard to answer that question because they're all my favorite for different things. If you want to go nature, Ecuador, Bali, Thailand. If you want to talk about food, Thailand. Thailand's in there a couple of times, right? But you have to look at it by what they're good at. That's just like in the States, right? Like Chicago, LA, New York, Dallas are all great cities for different things, but they're different, right? And that's really how I feel. So, but to answer your question, the country that felt more like home was definitely London, because it's the only other country that I spent that a significant amount of time in. I lived in London. Okay. So I wasn't a tourist in London. I did do touristy stuff in London, but I really lived in London. I was on the art scene in London. I had friends in London. I did laundry in London. Like, I lived in London. Tokyo felt like home. Tokyo is amazing. It's so clean, so sweet. Like, Tokyo is amazing. Like, I definitely want to go back to Tokyo, and I love sushi. I think I must be Asian somewhere in the past life. I don't know which one of these spots, but I love the Asian culture. But yeah, to answer your question, and then Budapest, I would say I talk often about Budapest because I made really good friends there. I still have friends there, like lifelong friends there. So that helps, right? That people still encourage the type of environment that you keep in these different locations. So Budapest was a place where I made a lot of good friends. So I had great memories there, and it felt more like home because I had friends, I had a good time.
Yeah.
So yeah, Uruguay was great because
Wow.
they allowed me to perform a lot. They allowed me to get on stage a lot. Like they were so generous with letting me perform. I got to perform with the flautist, the guitarist. That was a country where somebody bought my album that didn't speak English. Like Uruguay was, Montevideo is where I was, and it was fantastic. Okay. Yeah.
So you're like a walking map at this point. I'm like, okay, let me go to the country.
It's funny you say, because there's so many of my friends, and so many friends that have been like so many more places than me. So I feel like, man, I got to catch up,
Wow, really? Yeah. But that's such an awesome experience. So as before I kick it over to our other host, Kaniki Jakarta, and we've talked about it, but if the 2 and 3 year olds, how they ask why, but why, everything you say, okay, we can't go right now, but why, put your clothes on, but why? So to that 2 and 3 year old who meets you and you say, they introduce you and they say, hey, it's just a vessel. She's an international poet and she travels the world, changing tourism and inspiring the world. And the 2 or 3 year old says to you, but why? Why do you do that? How would you sum that up?
Ooh, that's a great question. I would just say, and I've actually sat with this a lot last year. And I would say that's what God made me to do. That's what I would say. And it's cliche, but that's really how I feel. I took a long time. Like, I was like, do I want to do a podcast? I want to write a book about this. Do I want to do this? And it's like, it sat with it for a long time. And it's like, no, this is, when I thought about changing tourism, I'm like, okay, this is what you're called to do. And so that's my why, right? This is what I'm called to do. So
awesome.
And I want to live in that. I want to live in that place.
So you can be empty when you
empty. That's it.
That's why we good. That's why we can, because that was my answer when I interviewed. That was the same answer that I had
love it.
The interview. So I totally get that. Listen, I'm going to kick it over to Kaniki J, poet laureate of Alexandria, the first African American poet laureate of Alexandria, Virginia. She has taught me well.
Thank you so much. Hey,
it's been a minute.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. Yes, so good to see you. And let me be the first to say that I am the first of us to say that I'm very proud of you and everything that you have accomplished.
Thank you so much.
I think as adults, we don't hear that we're proud of you a lot. We hear that as kids, and I just wanted to be one of the people to tell you that I am proud of you and everything that you have accomplished. Meeting you as a little baby poet, now you're a big poet, right?
Not the baby poet. No, you're right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, and I'm proud of you as well. Always accomplishing you're doing some dope things in VA, and that's always been inspiring to me. So thank you. And I appreciate that.
I have to say, London is definitely one of my favorite places.
Okay, nice.
Yes, I haven't been in years, but I really did connect with London. I really did like it there, although I was there like in September and it was raining. But yeah, but it still was it was just amazing. It was amazing. I really enjoyed it. So it's funny that you said that.
I like London. It's just cold. That's it. It's just really cold, and I wish it was sunnier there. But I did like the city. I did enjoy the city, but the weather is not. It's not nice.
It's not
most of the time. Yeah,
the weather is not all that. Yeah,
go in the summer. Go in the summer or spring. You'll be good.
Go in the summer or spring. Yeah. So when people ask you what you do for a living, what do you say?
I tell them about changing tourism. I say I am an aspiring travel TV host. Tell them I'm working on that, and then I say I work for a tech company. If I summed it up and I just had to answer it quickly, I say I'm a digital nomad, because that's the truth, right? And that encompasses both of them. They say, where do you live? I used to say I'm a global citizen, and people would get upset with me about that, thinking I was being like a smart aleck. But at the time, I really was bouncing around the globe. I had a backpack and a suitcase for 3 years, and I was a global citizen. I don't know what to say. But if they ask me what I do, I'm a digital nomad. I work for a tech company, and I also am a travel TV host.
Yes. Okay. Fantastic. This is a perfect place to start. I read somewhere in reading many different things, because like I always say that by the time you read someone's bio, especially someone like you, it's more stuff that needs to be added. So like when I read stuff, the bio is already expired, right?
Yeah.
I read somewhere about I don't know if you had like a T-shirt, something, or a T-shirt.
Yeah.
So okay, so it was about like okay.
I had a couple of like entrepreneurial endeavors, right, in my journey. So I am a poet, right? That's a part of me. Like I'm always going to be a poet, a singer, a host, a traveler, right? So that's the digital nomad piece. But in 2017, I launched a artist connection. It was called the Artist Connection, and it helped artists travel internationally. So I was booking, like helping artists travel international. So I actually booked a 9-city, 25-show tour for a London poet at the time, and helped a couple of artists in Baltimore perform in Italy, and just helping like artists kind of bridge that gap. Like it's not as hard to perform internationally as a lot of people think, right? But I dissolved that because it was difficult to guarantee the audience, right? Like I could guarantee you the show, the space, the venue, get you paid for the feature, all that stuff. But I can't guarantee how many people are going to show up and how many people are going to be able to buy your. If you're coming all the way from London to Boston, you want people, a lot of people to be in there. So I stopped doing that, but that was one of the endeavors I had when I first started. And then I had Same Shirt, Different Country.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's still around. I don't really push it as much right now, but it's still around if somebody like wanted some apparel. But it was really a kind of a joke because I had a backpack and a suitcase for 3-4 years of my life, and that was everything I owned was with me. And people would say, "Oh, how do you do that? Like, how do you have 5 pairs of shoes? I can't live without, my Jordans, and I need this and this." And I was like, it doesn't matter if I have on the same shirt. If I'm in a different country, I'll wear the same T-shirt and then go here, 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 and here. So it was a minimalist movement, right? To push like honoring experiences and not things. And so that's funny because it is a thing. Like it's still a T-shirt, it is a product, but it's like kind of a statement of like I'm wearing the same shirt, but I'm in a different country. Yeah. So
I used to do that in different states before the internet. You know what I mean? So now I can wear the same dress or same blouse or same shirt in DC on a Tuesday and then go wear it again in Baltimore or whatever. When I back in the day, I used to do these things.
Exactly.
See what I had on. Now social media is out. So they be like, does Kaniki have another dress? Because I see it times on social media. So yeah. But when you're in a different country, I guess it doesn't matter. Right. And while we're talking about social media, you use social media a lot to promote yourself and to keep a record of what you're doing. So do you think that social media is contributing to the well-being of artists and poets?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One is like, back in the day, as people say, oh, you should speak at my show for free because it's for exposure. And, you're like, kind of exposed. Now I'm exposed, right? So I think social media is giving people exposure on platforms that they wouldn't otherwise. Like you can host an online podcast or YouTube channel or something, and people can see it all around the world, where back in the day that was very difficult to do. So I think it's expanded the reach of people. Even if you're just using the right hashtags and you're targeting a certain audience and you're doing SEO and digital marketing and those types of things, you can really target the audience that you want. That could be all the way in Bulgaria if you want, right? And so the power of social media and the reach that it can have, if you know how to operate it, is really, really vast. And I know recently Instagram just launched that they will have now subscribers. So not only will you have followers, you will have subscribers. So if
I didn't even see that.
Yeah, you can do a clip that says that's part of your poem and say, hey, listen to the rest of the poem, become one of my subscribers. And now it's another way that artists and small business owners can monetize their online presence
Mhm.
So yeah, absolutely. 100%. Yeah.
Yes.
For sure.
I like that. I like that answer. So, when you travel, do you travel alone?
Both. Sometimes I go with friends. Sometimes I go by myself, and I'm fine going by. I lived in Portugal by myself. Loved it. Lived in Ecuador with some friends. Loved it. So I think it's not really. I don't mind traveling alone, or with people, but I am pretty intentional about who I go with. I wouldn't travel internationally with just anyone, because it's a big deal, right? And you can't just, if you're in Texas, you could probably leave somebody and they can Uber back to wherever. But if you're in the middle of Prague and you can't make out what the word says and you're with somebody that you don't like, it gets a little bit different. It's a little different, right? So I'm a bit selective with who I travel with internationally, but I'm open to traveling, by myself or with groups.
Okay. Yeah. Fantastic. I was going to ask, is it, well, let me ask another question. Let me just say, shout out to my mama, because she loves Keep the Mics On, so she is watching right now, I am sure.
Hey,
so
Ma.
Mama. My mom is my biggest fan.
That's so
when
sweet.
anything happens, the first person I call to say this thing happened is my mama. Who do you call?
My mom.
Your mom?
Oh yeah. And my sister as well. My sister her and my mom are probably neck and neck. But my sister and I are really close. We were born on the same day, 2 years apart.
Nice.
Yeah, we're really close. We've lived together. We lived together for like 6 years. Then I left. She moved to Colombia for 2 years, and I was traveling the world. And then we came back. We lived together for another year. Like, most people are like, how do you guys get along? Or I wouldn't want to share my birthday with somebody. And we're like, no, we love it. We love each other, so yeah, I'm super close to my sister. Definitely would share with her and my mom.
Shout out to your mama and your sister.
Shout out to my mom and my sister.
And your mama and your sister.
Yes.
You've done a lot of things.
I have. Yes.
You know how we do those things in like workshops or in meditation, or I don't know, but somewhere you've been and someone has said, what would you tell your younger self, right? I don't want to do that. I don't want to talk about your younger self. Okay. I'm going to ask, my question for you is, what are you doing now that your older self would thank you for?
Ooh, I love that question, Kaniki J.
Thank you.
Definitely taking care of my health and my mental health, right? So I have a therapist. And sometimes, some weeks I'm like, I don't even need to meet with her. I'm good. I'm cool. And then I speak to her and I'm like, oh, that was good. That was a good session. I'll see you later. So I meet with her once a month. And then I work out 6 days a week. And I think my future self would really be grateful for me moving my body consistently and prioritizing physical and mental health for sure. Above all else. Yeah.
I love that. I'm gonna say shout out to therapy every time, because I mean, you take care of your health, you take care of your body, you can take care of your mind and take care of your emotions. Absolutely. So I definitely am a cheerleader for
and that. It's even hard to take care of your physical health if your mental health is not there, because then you're not motivated mentally to go and do the physical exercise. So it all really starts and stems from being in a mentally healthy space.
Yeah. What do you value most about your friends?
Oh, good gracious. What do I value most about my friends? I would say them being present, because I'm gone a lot, right? And so they're still very present in my life, whether it's FaceTime, WhatsApp groups, checking in at odd hours so that we can catch up. Like, I'm grateful for them being present and being consistent in my life, because I have done a lot of things. I have bounced around. So like, to support me is a full-time job. So I appreciate them supporting me in all of my wild and crazy dreams.
Yeah. Shout out to your friends.
Shout out to my friends.
Shout out to your friends. I love that. So I started this segment by saying that I was very proud of you, right? What are you proud of yourself for?
I'm proud of myself for going after what I want right? My sister actually had this conversation with me the other day, and it really touched my heart. She was like, you really inspire me, because when you say you're going to do something, like, you go after it, right? And a lot of people say they want to do stuff, but they don't move their feet. And so I would say that as well. Like, I'm really proud of myself for consistently moving my feet, right? Even when I don't know what's coming next, I can't see what's up next, but I like trusting in the process, moving my feet. Yeah.
I love to move your feet. I can do a whole workshop on. I do a whole workshop on that. You inspiring me right now. You inspiring me.
Right.
Okay. Do you have a historical figure that you identify with?
Good gracious. A historical figure that I identify with? Not really.
Well, you are about to be the historical figure right now. Let me tell you.
I'm gonna need to I have to sit with that. I'm gonna have to sit with that after this show and figure that out for the next time somebody asks me this question. There's a lot of historical figures that I admire, but identify with is a different. Yeah, it's a different span. I don't know. I have to think about that one. I have to come back to everybody and give that answer, because I don't know.
I got you. You know, somebody stumped me with that on a interview one time. I was like, "Ooh," and I said what you said. So like, I was like, let me get back
to thing.
Right?
It's like a really big thing.
Yeah. I was like, I got stumped with that. I'm gonna start asking other people that too.
Yeah.
Think about that. Yes. So let me see. So my segment is called Poets and Platforms.
Okay.
Right. So you are a poet. What is your platform? You do so much.
Yeah. Oh.
What do you claim as the platform?
Oh man.
Because you sing, you open up with a song, which is beautiful.
Thank you.
That's good. So
it is. I can't say what I would say my platform is where I'm standing, because that could be Barcelona, that could be London, that could be, but I'm going to make that place my platform wherever I am. Right. And that's what I did in my travels, was wherever I was, I found a platform to sing, to perform, and then, creating the vlog. And now that's, transitioning into changing tourism. My platform is where my feet are, and wherever I am, to inspire and touch.
When you hear that in a poem, I will have to footnote you. My platform is where my feet is. When you hear that in a poem, I will footnote, give you credit.
You got it. It's all you. You got it.
Cool. Do you think I listen? And this is live and recorded, so don't come back and sue me. Don't come back and sue me. Okay, cool. Do you think you're better read or heard?
Definitely heard. 100% heard. Yeah, because I know there's a lot of readers, and I respect the readers of the world, or people that are like, God, I love that poem. Can you send it to me? Like, I really want to just read through what you said. And that's great. There are those visual learners, but to hear it is a different experience for me, because you're not going to read it the way that I'm going to say it. You're not going to inflect and pause and emote the way that I will when you're hearing it, when you're listening to it. So I prefer it be performed like a spoken word versus read. But reading is fundamental, and a lot of people like to read, so I don't mind it, but I'd prefer that you hear it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm going to say that she is definitely available for a booking. And to support her, screaming at the bottom of the page right now, because all of our artists, they come on here and give us our time for free. So if you would like to support her with a tip, because this masterclass should not be free. She has Cash App at the bottom. There's Venmo at the bottom. And be sure to follow, support, and those things as well. Do you have another piece for us? I'll hog up this whole segment. Do you have another piece? And then I can bring back the people.
We can. Yeah. Let me. I hope I don't mess it up. I haven't done this piece in a while, but I can try.
Well, we definitely won't know if it's messed up. And I will say, if anybody has any questions for Just a Vessel on our Facebook or YouTube, go ahead and type that in the chat, and then I'll bring back my co-host after your piece.
Okay. Hey guys, hopefully I don't mess this up for you. I haven't done this piece in a while. It's called Her. All right, here we go. I want to talk to her. Tell her that everything is going to be okay, and that heart that was broken wasn't meant to break, but sometimes God allows things to test your faith. I want to hold her. Tell her that I'm still here. And that thing that tried to kill her actually helped her live. Though pain was felt, it proved her existence. She wanted nothing more than to stop the feeling, but it made her aware of her healing. Conscious of life and all that's in it, it made her seek out a better existence. I want to tell her that she is worth more than consideration. She is perfect right now as is, with no alterations. She deserves better. She just doesn't know it yet. And when the right one comes, she'll understand why the others left. I want to kiss her forehead and let her know that a touch from someone heaven sent is so much better than consorting with the enemy. I want to tell her that she will be a better me. Just wait until this passes. Wait until her heart can release the one that grabbed it. Their hands were rough, but she got out with a few scratches, beating to a new rhythm, enduring what seemed tragic. These memories that keep on passing again and again, they come in masses. They came to taunt, but know that someday they won't haunt you. Someday soon, they'll just be thoughts. And revelations will reveal that the best is yet to come. Someday, somehow, I just wish I could tell the girl from a few years ago that this is her now. Wish I could feel the power she holds, but I guess she couldn't hold it without the strength she gained from letting go. She wouldn't have made it to this point without being broken and rebuilt. Sometimes the only lessons that we need in life is from structures, and to know that structures stand still. And today you are better, you are bigger, you are stronger. I don't know the rest of it. I'm sorry. Just know that the piece is a good piece. Go to the website, check out
that
the
was
end.
good.
I got to the very end.
I was in the middle of that piece.
Better and stronger.
I was here with you. I was here with you.
End of it.
We were here.
And if you want to hear more, go visit
get everybody in here.
No, I've been in changing tourism lands. I apologize, but the end of that poem is so close. I was like right there. But if you want to hear the end of it, you can go to Just a Vessel.
There it is.
There it is.
There it is.
Check it out and listen to her. Her is the title.
You were preaching a whole word tonight. I'm just saying. Everyone, please hit the collection plate.
that part.
Who wants to start with the question in the chat?
I'll ask it.
Well,
I'll ask it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'll grab the question from the chat. When you perform your poetry in other countries, are you using a translator? And if so, how does that impact your cadence and flow?
Oh, that's a great question. No, I have. There was one time in another country that somebody could speak English. And it was really tough because what we had to do was I say the poem. Or they were speaking Spanish. So I would say the poem in English and then they would translate it in Spanish, but it did affect the cadence and flow. Not necessarily the cadence and flow, but just the length, right? So I say it and had to pause and let them translate. Say it, pause, let them translate. But it was still fine. It went really well and it was fun to have a translator. But typically, no. Typically, regardless if I was in a Spanish-speaking country or a place where they didn't speak English, I still perform my poem in English. And I am learning Spanish, so hopefully in the near future I'll be able to perform Spanish in Spanish-speaking countries. Yeah.
Well, that should be fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. And audience, as we've mentioned, this time is for you. So if you have any questions for our special guest, this is now the time for you to ask. My question, where do you want to go next? The world opens tomorrow. Where are you going?
Yeah, I really want to go to Peru because there's been a couple of times I've tried to go to Peru and haven't, and unsuccessfully. And at this one, I'm like, gosh, am I just not supposed to go to Peru or like what is happening? But I really want to go to Peru. Peru.
I had a concert like that.
Yeah, I want to do Peru. I want to go to Dubai. And then the pilot of Changing Tourism will likely take place in Colombia, Cartagena and Palenque. So I want to go there as well to film the pilot episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I laugh. I was saying I had a concert like that where like I wanted to go see this one artist, and every time I tried to go, like something would happen. Every time. Finally got to go see it. But it was like it took like 6 tries, but I got there.
Was it Lauryn Hill?
No.
Okay, good.
I'll leave enough.
No shade.
It was nice. It was like a rain. I think it was 2 rainstorms.
Yeah.
A death. Like it was a couple different things that happened. Yes. And finally, it was like, okay, listen.
Yeah.
Like you are a jinxer.
I want to say thank you to Rebecca Dupas. Good to see her in the chat. Much love and light to her.
Thank you.
She's a fantastic artist as well, whom I am consistently.
She was another one of our roundtables.
She was a former roundtable artist.
Former roundtable. Shout out to Dr. Dupas.
Dr. Dupas. Yes.
How did you maneuver during the pandemic? Did you do any online anything?
Did I maneuver? I did a lot of this, right? A lot of like open mics via Zoom and virtual. But one of the ways that I pivoted that was fun was corporate gigs, which pay a lot more. And I was recording my poetry and then sending them the recording. And I made a decent amount of money on the side doing poetry for corporations. That was like great. So that's one way that you got, poets listening can pivot is to reach out to corporations, especially during like Black History Month and, around the holidays, Christmas, Easter, like when they're doing those, work holiday events.
Yeah.
It's a prime time to reach out and see, hey, do you need a poet for your next event? So that was how I pivoted, was doing a lot of stuff virtually.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about your life and this, it's moving. Do you see and some people think of settling down as some of those things having to stop. How do you, first of all, do you see yourself transitioning in another way where you're with family that's your family? And if so, how do you see it being meshed into your current lifestyle?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I do want kids. Hopefully my mom's listening because she wants me to have kids too. But I do want kids. And I think that I will pivot how I have to when that time comes. But I'm also, you guys may see my kid like strapped onto my back for 5 years as I'm still traveling, because I'm not in the mindset where a lot of people are of that when you have a child or when you get married, your life stops or you have to stop doing the things that you love. Maybe you can't go to 18 countries in a year, but you can still travel. You can still, those people are meant to enhance your life, not like stop it. And I get that if I'm pumping or something like that, I can't probably be in Croatia at that same time. So obviously within the limitations that it brings.
Yes, you
but
can.
Yeah, well, see, there you go.
Yes,
so I do. I'm also open to being the mom on the soccer field that says, when the mom comes up to me that had her kid younger and she's now 40 and vibrant and her kid is out the door and I have a 5-year-old, saying like being the mom who's been there, done it, got a t-shirt for it, and now I'm fine being on the sideline watching my child play soccer. I will, I'm fine with that too, to be honest. Awesome. Or basketball.
I got a question for the comment. I got a question in the comments.
Okay.
Who are you connecting with at the various corporations you're marketing to?
That's a good question. It's all about who you know, right? So I worked at a Fortune 50 company for 8 consecutive years. So I made a ton of connections, and my friends actually still reach out. Like when I opened for Common, and it was at a PepsiCo event, right? And I worked at PepsiCo. So it was like, it's the connections that I had. And then for people that are looking to make more connections, I would recommend going on LinkedIn and reaching out to a lot of departments now are starting to have their culture belonging and diversity inclusion committees, reaching out to the person who runs that's typically the person that would be hiring poets for the different events that they're hosting.
Nice.
Yeah.
Information.
Okay. Well, he's not silent and he's not a secret, but our male member who's not on screen has a question for you.
Good to see you.
Oh, your introductions on me fascinate me, Simply Sherry, every time. They get funnier and funnier. But I love listening to your experiences and really getting a chance to hear you process them out, Stephanie. And I'm hearing, even though decades apart in terms of my international travel, which is much less than yours, but some of the similarities in terms of how it's just a key and foundational growth period. When I lived in Lesotho in the anti-apartheid movement days, and just comparing it to some of the things you're saying in terms of what it does for you inside. And I also want to recognize what you said in terms of how it has diversified your poetry from the particular faith track,
narrow-minded, very narrow,
and that's powerful. And I really think that among many things is one of the things that international travel does.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, I'm mindful of something my grandfather said, an old World War II vet, when I met him, because I didn't always know him. When I met him not too many years before he died, he said, "Kenny, I think everybody live somewhere for 2 years other than home, and that way you won't have all this conflict and hate on each other and so forth." So I hear a lot of that coming through what you're saying. I'm wondering, going back again to the writing process, you get to live in a lot of places that are going through a variety of social political situations and justice movements and that type of thing. In terms of social political writing, in terms of justice pieces, do you find that your international travel filters into how you analyze the United States social politically? And does any of that filter into your writing? Is it something that you process out now in poetry, or just something that kind of percolates on the inside, or where are you on the spectrum of that?
That's a good question. I've never really been the political poet, to be honest. I love political poets. I love the social justice poets and writers but I've never been that person. My way to give voice to that is going to be changing tourism, right? So they can tell those stories about how they've been oppressed and how they've risen above the way that their government has set them up to fail. I've had those conversations in a lot of different countries, but my preference, instead of writing a poem about it, would be to go back, maybe write a poem about it after I go back and hear from them, but actually give them the mic, keep the mic on, right? And let them tell their story in their words. And I want you to see their face and hear it from them, their personal experiences. And that's more important to me now than, making my next album and putting that on the album. I'd rather you hear it from them. And I can facilitate that conversation, but I would love for you to hear it from them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Dig.
Yeah. I love that.
I like that question.
That is a really great answer.
How was it setting up open mic platforms, Spirits and Lyrics, in the other countries?
Yeah. So, you guys know Jeff is like my brother, Jeff and Pierre. I hosted on Spirits and Lyrics for a long time. And I promised them when I left that I would do some international shows, and I wanted to make good on my promise. And setting it up was nothing is as hard as we really think it is, right? You hear this idea of oh man, an open mic in Prague, oh my gosh, we were doing the call and response in Prague. It was amazing. It was at a bar called Bar One, I believe. And I just went in, spoke to the bartenders, looked at the spot, looked at the venue. I said, hey, this is great. I told a lot of people locally, we made flyers, similar to what we would do here, right? And just let people know about what was going on. And we had a great turnout. We had a great turnout there. We had a great turnout in Vietnam. And the great thing, a lot of people don't speak English fluently, but just about everywhere you go in the world, they try to speak English, especially when you're in like Vietnam, right? Who else speaks Vietnamese except them, right? So they have to speak English. Same with Hungary and Bulgaria, like they speak their language, but they also can speak English, so they can appreciate. I would say one of the challenges is that it's not saturated like it is here. If you miss this week's open mic, you can go to 3 more next week in the DMV area. It's not like that. Like they have one for the month, if that, right? Or it's not a part of their culture. So not necessarily setting up the event, but just getting them interested in coming to the event. Like, what is this? Poetry, open mic? Now I will say, living in London, their poetry scene, like I would say DMV is still unparalleled. I've been to 42 states, I've been 38 countries, and the DMV still is an amazing mecca of talent. But I would say London is neck and neck. If I had to compare where else that is, London is incredible when it comes to an art scene. And so I was very busy in London. Like there's so much to do, so much talent. People come down from Scotland, from Ireland, amazing poets, really, in that area, in that part of the world. But aside from that part of the world, it is just getting them interested in an open mic because it's not a common thing for them the way that it is here. So
was it difficult finding poets to do the open mic?
That was my next question.
Yeah. Actually, yes. And depending on where I was, it was challenging, right? And so what we would do is have other artists. So not necessarily poets, but we'd have a guitar player. I met an amazing, brilliant singer in Italy who like she plays like piano and she's like drumming her foot and hitting like a tambourine while she's got the harmonica over here. It is insane.
Wow.
Bringing in other artists and just making it an artist open mic was a little bit easier versus just poetry. Unless you're in London, then you can do just poetry in London.
Yeah, I still get invited to so many things.
Was that
their poetry scene?
It's crazy. Insane. They're really good. Yeah, they're really good. Yeah. So that was fun. And then it's just finding like the right person too. It's all about who you connect with. Everything is connection. That's what I've learned around my travels and in the world, right? From Rebecca asking about like, who did you connect with marketing? Who do you know? Right, doing my videos in Argentina, Budapest, and Vietnam, it was connecting. Everything is about connection and who you know. And if you know the right people, you're going to be in a good space. And then it's getting to the right person because there's going to be times you fail, right? I failed a lot trying to get to the spot in London. And then I met one guy who was like the Sherry of the DMV and gave me the whole list of every poetry happening, every open mic happening in the city, right? So it's a matter of like being patient and diligent enough to like get to the right person. And once you get to the right person, boy, are you in for some goodness.
Okay. This question is coming from, way out of left field, but we have to ask.
Oh God.
So at this point from your travels, you have been 5 of 7 continents?
Yes. So
when are you going to Antarctica and Australia?
Oh God. I do want to go to both of those. Antarctica's tough because you have to. One, it's cold as hell. I'm from Colorado, but it's another level cold. It is like the level of disrespect is at an ultimate high.
You just gotta hit it in the summer. You gotta hit it in the summer. Their summer, not our summer.
Yeah.
That part. And it's still cold, right? In their summer. So like you have to plan for Antarctica a long time in advance to be prepared for like you're taking a boat to get out there and where you're staying and what you're packing and all of that. I mean, I do want to go, but it's not like it's not close. Maybe in the next couple of years I would do Antarctica. Australia is not too tough, but right now they're pretty cracked down on COVID. So they're a little bit tougher to get to. But I would love to do a New Year's Eve in Sydney because it looks insane. It looks incredible.
I'll tell you, if you're looking to go to Peru, you can almost dovetail maybe Antarctica on the back end of Peru. because it's easier to get there from South America.
Yep.
And a little bit less expensive.
I have heard that because one of my friends she lives in Brazil and she went there. So I have heard that. So that's a good idea. So we'll know. Who knows, Sherry? Maybe I'll be in Antarctica soon. And I'll tell you guys a story about New Year's Eve. I want to go to Sydney for New Year's Eve, and I want to be in Dubai for a New Year's Eve too. I've been in London for New Year's Eve. Their fireworks are, aside from Beijing, London is unmatched. Their fireworks are amazing. But I know Dubai looks fantastic, and so does Sydney. However, I was in Tokyo for New Year's Eve, and I was so excited, and my friend came to visit, and she was like, girl, we about to turn up. I'm in Tokyo for New Year's Eve, and neither one of us researched anything, and we were just like, it's cool. It's a big city, one of the biggest cities in the world, 38 million people. Let's do it. So we get down there. Clock strikes again. When New Year rings in Tokyo, they ring the bell 108 times in a row in pure silence. So we're like waiting to scream and shout, and it's like boom, 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 108 times. And I was like, so this is New Year's in Tokyo. Fantastic. Fantastic. Somebody give me to Dubai.
Don't they also, let's see, I've read somewhere, don't they also eat KFC? Like, isn't that a thing? Like, there's like a holiday. It's either Thanksgiving or Christmas, where they all go get KFC, and like literally the lines like down the blocks to get KFC.
That is accurate. And KFC is literally the only fast food chain I've seen in every single country. I mean, McDonald's is there too, but KFC,
and
McDonald's and KFC. But like, I didn't expect to see KFC everywhere. It's literally everywhere. And in Bali, it's called JFC because they don't want to call him the Colonel. They have the Balinese man there, and I don't remember his name, but it starts with like a J, so it's JFC. But it's still a chicken place.
All right, Danielle, we are running close to actually overtime. So if you want to go ahead and ask Stephanie the last question, because we are having too much fun and we would be here all night.
Yeah. The last question is always the same. The last question is now, especially now that you've done the round table. Yes. So you've had a taste of all of the segments. Woo! Right? And thank you for hanging out with us, by the way.
Thank you. Seriously.
Thanks for having me.
A fun but tough thing to do with all four of us.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Who do you think would make a great guest on the show for any of the segments or for Roundtable?
Wow.
Who would you like to see come in and just give us the whole masterclass?
Is this a poet, a local poet?
No. It doesn't even know. We have interviewed musicians, photographers, makeup artists.
Yes, ma'am. The connection has all been in some capacity. We know them through poetry, but they don't have to be poets. We've had romance writers. We've had literally like top tier, nationally recognized poets, singers, you name it.
Yeah.
I think I would recommend one of the girls I was telling you about in Italy, who like she's just a fantastic artist, and I think it would be a cool twist or spin. I have to get you her name. I think it's like Matiska. I have to get the last name for you. I can connect you on Instagram, but she's really cool, and I think she would be fun to have like an international guest on the show. Or one of my friends in Budapest who actually did my video for me. She's a videographer, so I don't know if you guys know that, but she's a videographer. Could tell you.
We have not had an international guest.
The history. So yeah, I think having any international guest. Also, there's a guy that did a track for me in Portugal who's really a dope dude, and he's beatboxing, and he's like the Show K of Lisbon, right? So he's like doing his thing. So maybe one of my international friends that I would recommend to come and chat with you guys.
Nice.
That'd be wonderful.
Well, it's all about who you know. You said it.
There you go.
That's
You're
true.
right.
That is the currency. Networking literally is the currency of like
KFC is huge.
It is.
It is. It really is. Yeah.
Real quick,
So-
I don't like KFC, but I had the best KFC I ever had because I had it on my bucket list to do it, oddly enough, was to try it in Kentucky. I have never had better chicken than KFC actually in Kentucky. It was freaking amazing.
But you know, I'm going to say, a friend of ours that does a lot of international traveling recently posted that wherever they go to McDonald's just because they want to see how different the food just to taste. And they said it tastes bad here, it's better overseas.
Oh,
I don't
it
eat
is.
McDonald's.
London has the best McDonald's fish fillet I've ever had.
I can imagine fish and chips, but I was gonna say that one of the guys that travel, I don't really like McDonald's, but one of the guys that traveled with us in 2017, his goal was to go to every McDonald's in the different countries and eat the different thing on their menu, because wherever you are, they have something different. So like in Liechtenstein, it's pomfret fries. In Tokyo, you might get a shrimp burger. And you know, they cater to their audience. So I mean, it's a cool concept, but I just don't like it.
It's okay. I know that they do vegan, that they were doing vegetarian and vegan burgers at McDonald's in India.
That makes sense. Yep.
It makes sense. All right. As like I said, we could be here all night because we are apparently having an extremely good time.
I know.
So everyone, please, let's give a round of applause virtually and actually to Jessica Vessel. We thank you for being here. Make sure you support her some way. We have her Cash App and Venmo. We have her website. Follow her on social media. Share her work when things start to come out. Look out for Changing Tourism when it drops, because I know that is going to be a thing.
Yes.
We will be back 7 p.m. next Sunday with Let's Talk About the...
It'll be a book.
With...
It'll be a book. And I have Angelique Palmer.
Oh, great.
Yes.
So, and she's got a brand new book. She's got a brand new book that is gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. If you have not seen it yet. And I'm excited to talk about this. So yes. And the February guest calendar will go up soon too, because we have a stacked February.
We do. We have an extremely stacked February. And I'm really looking forward to it. So everyone, please stay safe, wash your hands, stay healthy. We will see you all back here next week. And good night.
Thank you so much. I want to say hi, Mazan. I saw Kill Mazan.
Stephanie, before I go, he'll be a guest in February.
Yay!
Yes. Awesome.